Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Adele, again, and welcome to my very first podcast. So this podcast series is called Adele-able, much like my website, and the purpose of this podcast will be based on student money saving tips. So I will be posting content like doing your food shop, whether you're doing it by yourself or if you're going to split it between you and your flatmates. Doing like nights out kind of money saving tips, like what not to spend your money on when you're out in a club, i.e. ridiculous prices for shots, like going out at the weekend when you're a student in big cities is always something to look out for. And even simple things like trying to stay healthy, like meal prepping, is another good way to save money, and it also creates structure and also a bit of consistency throughout your week, which I think every student kind of needs, especially when you're going out partying or if you're working. This can also be another good thing to kind of help set you up for your week. So let's get right into it. So I'm going to head over to my website. So if you guys are watching, I will be able to show you the website quickly. Okay, so if you head over to Adele-able.com, so it's www.adele-able.com. So this is what it looks like. Not a very good view on here, but I shall hopefully maybe put up like a pop-up image on the video side of things. So on here I have my blog and my YouTube channel connected, so that's all good. So if I head in to the first blog I posted, okay, let's find the first one. Part 1, let's go. Okay, so the first blog talks about mostly food shopping. So when I first went to college or university, I moved through to Aberdeen. So it wasn't that far away from home, but it was still far enough for me to be able to get like my independence and kind of sort out what I want to do and stuff, and how to really like budget everything, but also be within a reasonable distance for my parents to come through and help me, or for me to call them reasonably if I needed help. So that was always a good thing. I found to be very productive with moving about an hour and a half away from your home. Quite often people do that. They will literally just seek out the closest university just so they could have help from their parents. But where I stayed was very convenient as well, because it was literally across the road from the college and literally a 5-10 minute walk from a Morrison's, and Morrison's is probably one of the most student friendly shops out there because they're cheap, affordable, and they have amazing deals on every single week. And I loved Morrison's in Aberdeen, and I wish I had one closer to me in Edinburgh, because otherwise that's where I probably would have shopped all the time. And their meal deals are pretty good as well. You can't go wrong with a meal deal from Morrison's. It's just as good in my opinion. I don't know if it's going to spark up controversy saying that about Tesco's, but we shall have to wait and see. But whilst I was at college, I had to get myself a part-time job because I was staying in halls and it's not cheap. I had to take out a student loan just to pay off the rent and then work to be able to support myself through there. So like to be able to eat and drink and go out with friends and stuff like that. But like that's kind of like what you do anyway. If you're like a mature student, you pretty much only get a little bit to help you with the living costs, and you kind of have to put in that extra bit of work yourself. But it was worth it. It was a good experience, and it allowed me to really figure out how to budget. I just bashed my mic there, so sorry guys. But yeah, it allowed me to figure out how to budget and how to create that type of budget to be able to help me to sustain myself during college life and uni life. And it was very valuable knowledge for when I went off to Edinburgh, which is 10 times more expensive, and you just would not be able to imagine it really. But yes, okay, let's read further down. But yeah, I mean, the main reason someone's food bill can get really, really high is due to things like temptation. Like, remember when you were younger and you would be walking through like the shops with your parents and you'd be like, oh my god, I want that, mum, can I get that? And sometimes they'll say yes, or if you're spoiled, they'll say yes all the time. But my mum would always kind of do like a bargaining tool, like, well, if you get that, you can't get that. And I'm just like, well, why not? And she would always say, look, we're not made out of money. You have to think here. That's more expensive than what you picked up before. So it's either that or the other thing. And I think when you're on your own and you're walking throughout these shops and you're like, oh my god, that looks so good, and you just get it, you're pretty much done for. But yeah, it is such a temptation. Like, even me, when I go through a supermarket, and I see like Ben and Jerry's or something like that, like a new one on offer, I literally want to grab at it, but I know deep down that I can't because it's not within budget. So quite often, whilst I was living in Edinburgh, I would kind of think, right, what do I want to eat for the week? Okay, I want pasta one night, I want a pizza one night, I want something healthy at one point during, like, a couple times during the week to have a good, like, balanced diet at the same time. So I would make sure I had enough, so I'd probably go shopping every 2 weeks or something like that, because I personally don't eat a lot. So, and because like I wasn't earning a lot of money either, and I had like my phone bill or stuff like that to pay, I had to really kind of be strict by myself. I'm like, that was my computer. I had to be really, really strict with myself and make sure I don't go over a certain amount. So I would normally set aside about 40 quid every 2 weeks to kind of get myself by. And at Morrison's, 40 quid can take you very far. It's actually ridiculous how far you can go with 40 quid. Like, you could probably still get a good couple of bottles of Coke and then get all your ingredients, like all your salad stuff. Like, I think as long as you don't get it pre-made, like pre-cut potatoes or something like that, you're good. Like, I think as long as you go for fresh stuff, some frozen stuff is good as well, like, especially when you're trying to budget, some of the frozen things are good. But honestly, fresh is best because it tends to be the cheapest. If you want to go organic, cool, but that's going to be 10 times more expensive. I would always say go for fresh, because like, I know it then means you would then have to like prep it, or if you don't use it, put it in the freezer. But then that's fine, because that's still saving money. And a lot of the time, yeah, I would sometimes go over that 40 quid budget if I decided I needed a treat. Like, if I had a very stressful couple of weeks and I'm like, I don't care, I'm going all out, I'm getting myself like boxes or bottles of wine or VKs or whatever, then fair. But if you budget yourself, you can then budget how much you do for food shopping, how much you want to eat out, like if you want to go to like Zzz's or like McDonald's with your friends, or like go to the cinemas or go for a couple of pints down in the pub. It's just stuff like that allows you to stay better in control of your money, rather than getting to the end of the month and being like, oh shit, where's all my cash gone? I need to pay for a food shop. You know, it just puts you in more and more debt, puts you in more of a sticky situation, and it literally leaves you scrounging on pots of pot noodles. Not saying there's anything wrong with pot noodles, but yes. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, meal prepping is such a good way to get around this horrible part of money saving. Like, if you think, okay, well, I'm just going to make a big batch of like chicken and tomato pasta, you could have that one night for dinner and then save it, and then save obviously whatever you have from that batch, put it in like a pot or two. You could have that then for lunch one day, or like dinner the following week if you put it in the freezer, vice versa. Like, if you think about your breakfast, your lunch and your dinner, what you kind of want to have and what you could maybe repeat during the week or use the following week, it saves you a lot of hassle, and it actually means you don't have to get up and worry about cooking, and it means that when you come back from like college or uni, you can just come home and it's already done. So if you do it on like a Sunday or a Monday night, your week's then prepped for you, and you don't have to worry about congested fridges and people going, oh my god, who stole this from my fridge, which does actually happen a lot in university. People tend to take things from like drawers or fridges or cupboards. So like especially in the fridge situation, if you don't want people like nicking some of your food stuff, if you've meal prepped, they literally have no excuse to go through any of your boxes because everything's sealed and contained. And you'll know then if someone's tried to go through your box because you know you've not touched it because you're saving it for the next day or for that night. So I definitely think it's a good secure way to kind of keep yourself so no one's using anything. Although some people will probably still nick a sip of your Coke or some of your milk or some of your orange juice. It just happens, unfortunately, and no one's going to own up to it. Everyone's going to be like, oh, I don't know, not me. It's just going to be a part of university life and you're just going to have to get over it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing it. And then another way is actually splitting the costs with your flatmates. If you all kind of eat similar things or something like that, or like the same things, like even if you like the same pizza or like the same pasta or whatever, or breakfast items, if you all did like a shop together and filled those 2 fridges and those freezers up together, then that actually splits the cost as well, because then you can make a meal for everyone. Like even if you took it in turns, even though it'll probably fall through halfway through the semester, it's still actually a really good way to do it. I did that once with my flatmates for a semester. We all kind of chipped in. We were like, okay, this is how much I'll put in, this is how much I put in. Can you cook the dinner this night? You can cook the dinner that night? Or can you make lunches for this day or that day? Or I want to use that for my lunch. Can you guys use this? And a lot of the time, people are pretty chill about that because they're used to that type of conditions living in the house with their parents. And I think having that type of experience with people other than your family is a good thing too, and it allows you to kind of realize how to budget possibly for the future when you're living with someone else, because once you move in with like a friend or like a partner, you never know, you will have to probably end up doing this, and it's such a key skill to be able to learn, especially if you're really good with money, budgeting and saving. You're then going to be good at it for the rest of your life pretty much, and it's going to be key when it comes to things like moving or going travelling and stuff like that. Those skills will be used elsewhere and at another time, even in a job. Like if you've had to budget for like how many hours someone can have during the week or like holidays and stuff like that, having that type of skill is so good, and I think a lot of employers will probably look for. So like I think when it comes to money saving tips, budgeting and food shopping, like through that, ace. But yeah, so that's the first episode, guys, done and dusted. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been productive and give you a bit more insight into what the blog was about. Like I said, please do head over to Adele-able.com. I will actually link it down below with everything else, like my Instagram and my Twitter and everything like that, and it will mean a huge amount if you can actually hit that lovely subscribe button down below, as well as that little cheeky thumbs up. That'll be cute. And for those of you who are listening just on the podcast, make sure you do follow, like, and even share this with your friends, your family, or even fellow students. Until next time, guys, see ya.